To the world, this city is called Addis Ababa. But to the Oromo people and Oromia, it is Fin-fin-neh. And this city is far more than Ethiopia's federal capital. It is also the diplomatic capital of Africa, the seat of the African Union, home to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa and the Coordinating Center of Africa CDC. That makes Finfinne not just a national capital, but one of the most strategically important political cities on the African continent. And yet, beneath that global image lies a deeper, unresolved question. Whose land is this? Whose jurisdiction governs it? And what does justice require? The constitutional status of Fin-fin-neh, globally known as Addis Ababa, is at the center of one of the deepest struggles for restorative justice and jurisdictional integrity within the Ethiopian Multinational Federation. Under Article 49 of the 1995 FDRE Constitution, the city is designated as the federal capital. But that same article also recognizes Oromia's special interest. That recognition matters because Fin-fin-neh is not a neutral territory floating outside history. It is an enclave entirely surrounded by Oromia, geographically, historically, and politically rooted in Oromo land. For many Oromo scholars, nationalists, and advocates of federal justice, Fin-fin-neh is not a neutral federal district. It is an Oromo city and the beating heart of Oromia's political and historical identity. From that perspective, the current administrative arrangement, which effectively separates the city from the surrounding state, is not a natural constitutional order. It is a legal fiction that must be corrected through shared jurisdiction, the full implementation of Oromia's ownership rights, and the restoration of jurisdictional integrity within the federation. Historically, the area now called Addis Ababa was known as Fin-fin-neh, named after its natural hot mineral springs. Long before imperial occupation, the land was inhabited by Oromo clans including the Talama, Gulale, Ika, and Galana Bichu. These communities governed the area through the Gada system, with local leaders such as Tufa-Muna and Guto, Wasarbi administering distinct districts. The transformation of Fin-fin-neh into Addis Ababa, meaning new flower, began in 1886 during the imperial expansion of Menelik II. This was not simply an ordinary process of urban growth. It was a militarized conquest, marked by repeated predatory raids, territorial seizure, and the forced eviction of Oromo, agro-pastoralist communities, in order to establish an imperial garrison town or katema. For many Oromo thinkers, that moment was the city's original sin, the conversion of the Oromo hosts into guests in their own homeland. And that historical wound is not merely symbolic. For many, it remains legally and politically unresolved to this day. In 1991, after the fall of the Derg, the Transitional Period Charter recognized the right to self-determination and created self-governing regional structures. Under Proclamation No. 7, 1992, Fin-fin-neh, then designated as Region 14, explicitly reserved the special national and political interests of the Oromo. Then, in 1995, Oromia's first constitution formally designated Fin-fin-neh as the capital city of the state of Oromia. That meant the city had a dual identity. It was both the federal capital of Ethiopia and the regional capital of Oromia. In 2001, that arrangement was disrupted. Through Proclamation No. 46, 2001, the Oromia capital was moved from Fin-fin-neh to Adama, a decision widely viewed as a federal-backed political maneuver designed to weaken Oromo presence and influence in their historic capital. Federal authorities justified the move by arguing that the city was inconvenient for Oromo cultural development. But for many Oromos, this was not administrative convenience. It was a political expulsion. The result was massive student resistance across Oromia and a brutal crackdown. Then came 2005. Under strong public pressure and broad Oromo political mobilization, the decision was reversed. Through Proclamation No. 94, 2005, Article 2.3 amended the regional constitutional framework and restored Fin-fin-neh as the capital city of the state of Oromia. That restoration is crucial, because legally it means the claim that Fin-fin-neh is Oromia's capital is not a future aspiration alone. It is also a restored constitutional position. So what is the constitutional way forward? For many proponents of Oromo rights and federal consistency, the answer is a duality capital city model. This model does not reject federalism. It seeks to restore federalism by harmonizing three layers of legitimate authority, federal jurisdiction, Oromia's state jurisdiction, and municipal self-government. First, there is federal jurisdiction, grounded in Articles 50 and 51 of the FDRE Constitution. Under this arrangement, the federal government's authority in Fin-fin-neh should be limited to the exercise of its exclusive federal powers, including national defense, foreign affairs, monetary policy, and the administration of federal institutions. In that sense, the city's status as the federal capital under Article 49(1) gives the federal state a seat for federal functions, but it does not automatically erase the territorial, historical, or political rights of the host state, nor does it logically grant the federal government exclusive ownership over the land itself. Second, there is state jurisdiction, grounded in Articles 50 and 52. Because Finfinne lies within Oromia's uninterrupted territory and is constitutionally recognized as the capital of Oromia, the regional state should be able to exercise its normal state powers there, including economic and social development policy, administration of natural resources in accordance with federal law, and maintenance of a state police force. And here lies one of the most important realities in today's debate. Although Fin-fin-neh is constitutionally recognized as Oromia's capital, Oromia is not practically exercising its full state powers in the city. That means there is a sharp gap between constitutional recognition and practical governance. In law, the city is tied to Oromia. In practice, Oromia's powers remain constrained, diluted, or structurally blocked. For many, that contradiction is one of the clearest signs that the current arrangement is not a completed federal solution, but an unfinished constitutional problem. Third, there is municipal self-government under Article 49(2). The residents of the city are entitled to a full measure of self-government, meaning the right to elect local leadership and administer urban services such as water, sanitation, roads, and other municipal functions. This matters because the debate is not about replacing one domination with another. It is about structuring a city where federal authority, Oromia's state authority, and local democratic self-rule can coexist. In other words, Finfinne does not have to be treated as an independent regional state, detached from Oromia in order to function as a federal capital. That is the essence of the duality model. But this debate is not just constitutional theory, it has a profound human cost. The city's unrestrained, horizontal expansion has occurred, largely at the expense of Oromo land, often through state-led development, that bypasses or marginalizes the indigenous inhabitants. In peripheral sub-cities such as Bole, Yeka, and Akaki Kaliti, built-up areas reportedly increased, from roughly 11% in 1991 to more than 51% by 2022. Many Oromo nationalists estimate that around 150,000 Oromo households have been dispossessed over the last decade alone. The economic impact has been devastating. Many farmers are pressured to sell land at low prices because they cannot comply with costly urban construction requirements, including high-rise development codes. Some studies indicate that nearly 60% of displaced residents receive no sustainable housing alternatives. The consequences have included deep economic insecurity, social dislocation, and severe emotional and mental distress, especially among Oromo youth. And then came the 2014 master plan. That proposed expansion would have extended the city's boundary by 1.1 million hectares into surrounding Oromia. For many Oromo communities, this was not just an urban planning issue. It was seen as an existential threat, an attempt to submerge and liquidate Oromia's special interest, and to accelerate land alienation under the language of development. The response was historic. The 2014 to 2016 Oromo protests erupted across Oromia and forced the government to abandon the plan. Those protests were not just about a master plan. They became a defining turning point in modern Oromo political mobilization and in the broader struggle over land, identity, federalism, and state violence. And this is what makes the question of Finfinne even more consequential. This is not simply the city where Ethiopia's federal institutions sit. It is also the city where Africa gathers, the seat of the African Union, the home of UNECA, and a central hub for Africa CDC. Before we conclude, we have this next fascinating discussion about Finfinne.
Imagine waking up, right, and finding out the federal government just declared your home its new headquarters. And you are now basically just a guest on your own property. So welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild scenario to think about.
Right. We're unpacking the constitutional status of Ethiopia's capital. Globally, you know it is Addis Ababa, but originally it was Fin-fin-neh.
Yeah.
And just to be clear right up front, we're looking at some highly politically charged historical and legal texts today.
Absolutely.
Our mission here is not to take a side. We're just, impartially reporting what's in these sources to help you crack open the underlying mechanisms driving this massive geopolitical tension.
Yeah, and to really grasp this, we have to establish the core tension, which is honestly the defining paradox of Ethiopia's federal model.
Well, for sure.
You have this massive, constantly expanding megacity acting as the federal capital, but geographically, it is completely enclaved entirely inside the state of Oromia.
Okay, let's unpack this geographic tension, because it's not some modern accident. It goes straight back to the 1886 imperial expansion by Menelik II.
Right, the area wasn't just empty land waiting to be claimed.
Exactly. It was inhabited by Oromo clans who administered the territory through the Addis system, which the texts point out wasn't just some loose tribal hierarchy. It was this highly structured, democratic generation grading system for governance.
Yeah.
So basically, they were forcibly evicted to establish a military garrison town. It was like someone taking over your house by force, remodeling the place, and then suddenly treating you like you're just a guest.
What's fascinating here is the psychological and cultural impact of the renaming process that followed. So the original name, Fin-fin-neh, actually celebrated the area's hot mineral springs.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but the new name, Addis Ababa, translates to new flower.
Right.
So proponents of Oromo rights view this historical displacement and really this erasure as an original sin.
Right.
They argue that achieving restorative justice today requires acknowledging this past and placing the city under Oromia's primary jurisdiction.
And that 19th century erasure created like a constitutional time bomb when Ethiopia transitioned to federalism in the 1990s.
It really did.
Because in 1995, the Oromia Constitution officially designated the city as Oromia's capital, giving it this dual identity as both a regional and a federal seat. But then in 2001, the federal government legally expelled Oromia's capital from the city entirely.
Moving it to Adama.
Right, claiming the city was inconvenient for Oromo cultural development. Wait, I'm stuck on this 2001 expulsion. So what does this all mean? How did the federal government legally justify expelling a state capital from its own geographical borders?
Well, the sources frame it not as an urban planning decision, but as a blatant exercise of disproportionate federal power. It was a political maneuver to dilute Oromo influence by separating the region's administrative power from its economic center.
Ah, I see.
And obviously that sparked massive protests, which eventually forced the authorities to reverse the decision and reclaim Finfinne as Oromia's capital in 2005.
But even with the reversal, that period of legal vulnerability had devastating physical consequences.
Yeah, because stripping Oromia of administrative control over the city, even temporarily, created this huge jurisdictional vacuum. Developers and federal authorities exploited that gap to bypass local land protections.
Right.
And that legal mechanism is exactly what fueled unchecked horizontal urban expansion outward into Oromo land.
Which brings us to the staggering human cost.
Yeah.
Activist estimates show like 150,000 Oromo households displaced over the last decade alone.
It's credible.
Farmers were pressured out of their land, leading to severe economic dispossession. And all of this culminated in the fiercely protested 2014 master plan, right?
Right, which aimed to expand the city's boundaries by over 1 million hectares. If we connect this to the bigger picture, protesters saw the 2014 master plan as an existential threat designed to completely swallow the surrounding region.
Right, and the backlash actually forced the government to scrap it.
Exactly. So to fix this broken system permanently, proponents argue for a duality capital city solution utilizing the existing constitution.
Okay, how does that work?
So Article 51 grants the federal government powers like defense and foreign policy. Article 52 gives the state of Oromia regional economic and resource powers. And then you add a third municipal layer for local self-governance.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think of it less like a single corporate building and more like a vast embassy complex or a skyscraper.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, so the federal government manages the penthouse, foreign policy, defense. But Oromia owns the building structure and the resources under Article 52.
Because they're the host?
Right. And then the residents basically run the HOA for daily city management.
Yeah.
It resolves the jurisdictional overlaps without just excising the city from its host state.
It harmonizes those constitutional layers. The duality model acknowledges the historical roots of the land while accommodating the administrative reality of a modern federal capital.
Right. So bringing it all together for you listening, the core takeaway is this incredibly delicate struggle to balance a host nation's territorial integrity with the sprawling, centralized expansion of a federal government.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with this final thought. If a megacity's explosive economic growth inherently relies on displacing the indigenous population that originally built its foundation, can modern urbanization ever actually be equitable?
So the future of Fin-fin-neh is not merely a local administrative dispute. It is a constitutional question with national, regional, continental, and historical implications. Fin-fin-neh remains the beating heart of Oromia. Its legal and political history, from the transitional charter, to Oromia's constitutionally recognized special interest, to the 2005 restoration of its status as Oromia's capital, shows that this is not simply about urban administration. It is about land. It is about jurisdiction. It is about identity. And it is about justice. For many, the constitutional path forward is clear. A dual capital model, where federal authority is limited to the powers under Article 51, where Oromia's state powers under Article 52 are not just recognized on paper, but fully and practically exercised, and where the residents of the city enjoy full municipal self-government under Article 49(2). That is not the rejection of federalism. That is the restoration of federalism. Because no peace can last where dispossession remains unresolved, and no federation can remain stable while denying the host nation its rightful place in its own historic capital. This is Digital Oromia, where we examine identity, rights, power, politics, and justice with depth. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe to Digital Oromia, like the video, and share your view in the comments. If Fin-fin-neh is the heart of Oromia and the diplomatic capital of Africa, can Ethiopia's federalism ever be complete without restoring justice in its own historic capital?